Hey guys, my name's Esided, and this is my top 10 best counters to farm the 7-star Rillaboom next weekend. Quick disclaimer, these are early builds, and we won't know the quote-unquote meta till Rillaboom Raid is live, but all these builds seem really promising, and there's a reason why each mon is on this list. We only have 1 week left to build our answers, so let's not waste any time and jump right into the list. So to start us off with our list at number 10, it's going to be Iron Hands. And if you've been raiding, Iron Hands needs no introduction, potentially one of the best raid mons in Scarlet and Violet in general, but it does have some shortcomings in terms of Rillaboom, so that's why it's only number 10 on the list. But first, let's look into its advantages, its positives. So one really important thing with this raid is that because Rillaboom will be normal Tera type, it's really important that we preferably look for a Pokemon that is fighting type, that can go fighting type Tera, so it can have same type, same Tera type attack boost and deal big damage. So here we have fighting Tera type. For item, I recommend Citrus Berry, because after you belly drum, you may need that additional recovery to ensure that you live a grassy terrain boosted grass type move, or even a normal type move from Rillaboom. For nature and EVs, I recommend Adamant Nature to get the most out of that attack stat, and also for EVs, I recommend max HP, max attack, and the remaining EVs in physical defense. We have Belly Drum here as our setup move, probably the best option for setup moves in Scarlet and Violet because we can go +6 in 1 turn. And then we have Reliable Recovery and Drain Punch. For this raid, I also recommend Force Palm, so it gives you the option to fish for paralysis even through the Rillaboom shield, and Close Combat as a last-ditch effort as your nuke option. So Close Combat I don't usually recommend because once you use it, you do lower your defenses, making yourself more vulnerable against the raid target. But with Close Combat here, if you use it as a last-ditch effort, or like when Rillaboom is -6 and Iron Hands is +6, you could get a lot of damage done, but just keep in mind that you do make yourself a liability if you do not ensure the kill with Close Combat. And the reason why he's only number 10 on the list is because I do think he has some shortcomings in terms of the Rillaboom raid specifically. So with his fighting and electric typing, Iron Hands does not resist Rillaboom's grass or normal type moves, which are arguably the two most important types that we want to be worried about. And also there is the potential for the Stomping Tantrum that we have to be careful about. So Stomping Tantrum would probably finish off Iron Hands, especially after a belly drum. So that's why he's only number 10 on this list. I recommend you stick around and at least build number 3 that's on this list. That mon will be great. Next on our list is number 9, and that's going to be Female Indeedee. Now, in terms of raw power, Iron Hands is clearly better, but Indeedee does have a specific niche that can fill in this raid that makes it more valuable. So one important thing to note is Rillaboom will have its hidden ability Grassy Surge, so when the raid starts, it'll summon grassy terrain, but Indeedee has Psychic Surge, so it'll actually summon psychic terrain over the grassy terrain. And how this pretty much works is it works by speed stat and turn order. So because Rillaboom will be faster, Rillaboom will sub grassy terrain first, and then because Indeedee is slower, it'll sub psychic terrain after. So in that situation, you and your teammates won't have to worry about a grassy terrain boosted drum beating or wood hammer. For Tera type, I have Psychic Tera type. I don't think the Tera type matters because we're not going to be DPSing, we're not going to be dealing much damage. And for the held item, I just have on Psychic Seed here. Psychic Seed will boost our special defenses, so it seems not optimal, but I am expecting Rillaboom to have the very powerful Boom Burst. So I am running Psychic Seed for now, but I do think that a recovery option like a Citrus Berry or a Pinch Berry could be more useful here to keep you in the raid longer. For this build, I do have max HP and max defense, and I even have a negative speed nature to ensure that Indeedee goes second, so Psychic Terrain will be the lasting terrain on the field. For moves, I recommend Helping Hand, and I recommend Reflect. Rillaboom will be dealing primarily physical type moves, so Reflect will be there to help our team stay alive and healthy. And Indeedee's best quality is that it's a healer, so Heal Pulse to also keep your teammates alive. This could be especially useful with belly drummers because belly drummers do put themselves at a disadvantage, losing 50% of their HP, so Heal Pulse can keep them healthy. I do recommend Psychic Terrain because I am expecting Rillaboom to run Grassy Terrain as one of its moves, so it can reset up Grassy Terrain about halfway through the raid, so you can use Psychic Terrain to overwrite that again. Number 8 on our list, it's the GOAT itself, Go-Goat. So I made a full-length video earlier this week breaking down the Go-Goat build and what makes it beneficial going into the Rillaboom raid, so I'll make this short and sweet here. So Go-Goat, we're going to have the Grass Terror type, we're going to have the Grassy Seed to take advantage of Rillaboom's Grassy Terrain with, sets up boosting our own defenses. We're going to be Adamant Nature with plus attack, minus special attack, with max HP and max attack with 4 EVs in defense, with the ability Grass Pelt. So when we're on Grassy Terrain, it boosts our defense by 50%. So with Grassy Pelt and Grassy Seed, we'll be getting a lot of defense boost to stay alive. And we have Bulk Up to further increase our defenses and our attack. It has a really strong recovery option, Stab Horn Leech, and then we can even get the fighting type super effective move in Brick Break. Not optimal, but I think it can get the job done. You know, I understand that Go-Goat is not the best answer, and that's why he's only number 8 on this list, but I did want to highlight him because I think that, you know, this set could be really interesting, and this could be the only time that this set could be useful in Scarlet and Violet. Again, if you want a further breakdown, check out my full-length video that I'll link in the pinned comment below, but let's jump into number 7. For number 7 on our list, I just want to highlight Hisuian Goodra one more time. Hisuian Goodra has been so much fun using in raids, and it was especially really good in the Delphox raid that came the other weekend. So Goodra here, another really good option in this event Tera raid, but for a completely different set, which just makes this so fun and so interesting. So in the top right, we have Fighting Tera type, which I'll get into, and for item, we have Shell Bell for some recovery. In terms of recovery options, Goodra could use Life Dew, but I think Goodra will be too busy buffing its own attack and attacking to be using Life Dew. So I think leave the recovery like that for a healer, but Shell Bell should be enough to keep you alive. For stats, I have a plus defense nature. You could do a negative attack nature here because we're not taking advantage of the Sap Sipper. Initially, I was thinking of running a Sap Sipper set, but with Grass being quad resistant, I think the AI will be a little smarter than to just use a Grass type move on us. So I think Shell Armor could be more advantageous here because one big thing is that we'll be buffing our defenses, and one crit goes through the defense boost, so it can ruin your setup and it can ruin your raid. So for our moves, we have Shelter, which is pretty much just a reskin of Iron Defense, so your defenses will go up by 2 stages when you use it. And we'll be doing that once we get to plus 6 defense. We'll be using Body Press, so that'll be going off of our massive defensive stat and be dealing big damage on the normal type Rillaboom. And also that's why we're Fighting Tera type, so when we Tera, we can go into a Fighting Tera type and get that same attack boost on Body Press. Here I also have Acid Spray. Acid Spray, just honestly one of the best moves for raids because it goes through shields. So we're not really sure on the meta right now. It could be a physical, it could be a special meta when going into the Rillaboom, so I have Acid Spray here just in case, depending on what my teammates bring. Looking at my top 3 that's later on this video, it's looking like a physical meta, so Acid Spray may not be needed, but it's just something important to note. And a big advantage to using Hisuian Goodra is its resistances. So with the Steel and Dragon type, like I said, it'll quad resist Grass type moves, and it will resist Rillaboom's normal type moves. The one big thing that we would want to watch out for is potentially Stopping Tantrum like with Iron Hands, but why Goodra is better than Iron Hands is because it can resist the other moves. So we're not sure if Rillaboom's going to have Stopping Tantrum. It's just something important to keep in mind. Both Iron Hands is weak to Grass and normal moves, while Goodra resists those types. So way better option, sitting at number 7 here on our list. Alright, and number 6 on our list is going to be Lucario, which is the best special fighting type that we can use for this raid. Potentially the only special fighting type that's available. So for Tera type, it's obviously fighting type. For held item, we have Shell Bell. Not the best recovery, but the best recovery that Lucario can get. For stats, I recommend max HP and max special attack with a modest nature, taking advantage of that special attack stat. For ability, Lucario doesn't have the best abilities, so I just have Inner Focus on this one right now, but I don't think it would get much use in this raid. What's important here is Lucario's moves. So Lucario has options to both debuffing moves, Screech and Metal Sound. So you can bring Lucario in as a supportive option. It can either help out a physical attacker or a special attacker. If you're running more of a damage dealer set, you want to be focusing on Metal Sound. We're going to be using Metal Sound to lower the target's special defenses, and then Nasty Plot to raise our own special attack, with Aura Sphere being a great option for a fighting special move. One big problem with Lucario is that it is pretty frail usually, so it might not be able to take many hits from a Rillaboom, but with Rillaboom being, you know, again, with the normal and grass types on Rillaboom, Lucario does resist those with its steel typing, so it might be able to take those attacks a little bit better than it usually could, but Lucario is usually frail. You might need some healers, but really good option here, especially as our only special fighting type. And real quick, before we jump into the top 5 best counters, I do want to say, if you're liking the content, like the video and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future builds. To start off our top 5, at the number 5 slot, it's going to be a Ringaroo. Now, a Ringaroo doesn't do anything particularly special against Rillaboom, but this is potentially one of the best support raid mons that I don't think gets highlighted enough, and I don't see enough people talking about it. Alright, to be honest, Terra type doesn't really matter here. For held items, Citrus Berry can be actually pretty good here for reliable recovery, and it can actually help out your teammates with its ability that we'll get into. For stats, I recommend max HP and max defense to keep us alive on the field the longest. And with the ability Symbiosis, the Pokemon passes its held item to an ally that has used up an item. So sometimes if you have like a belly drummer on your team, your Symbiosis can actually activate and pass over your Citrus Berry to your teammate, which could be helpful for them. Because a Ringaroo is pretty bulky, so the recovery is nice, but not particularly needed. For moveset, the reason why he is the best support mon is this move right here, Instruct. Instruct works super well in raids, where you can pretty much make an attack go off twice in one turn. So let's say you have a debuffer, you can instruct a Screech, so instead of the target being -2 defense, it can actually be -4 in one turn. If you have a teammate attacking and dealing big damage, you can instruct them to attack again, essentially attacking twice in one turn. And honestly, Ringaroo has some really good support options for this raid. So we have Reflect, so we can keep our team alive and healthy, Psychic Terrain to overwrite the grassy terrain that Rillaboom will set up, and potentially even Trick Room could be good. If Rillaboom has its signature move Drum Beating, every time it attacks, it will lower your speed stat by 1 stage. So Trick Room could be potentially really good for you and your allies, reversing those speed orders, and every time your speed gets lower, you'll actually be faster in Trick Room. Actually, 1 second, let me do a cut here. Let me fix up something right here. Alright guys, I'm back, and I think I fixed the moveset. So yeah, you pretty much only want to be using Instruct. It's just such a strong move. You pretty much tell your teammates what you want to be done. Number 4, we have Galarian Zapdos. Zapdos is such a strong option into Rillaboom here. Let's jump into it. So it's going to be fighting Terra type obviously, and Shell Bell for recovery. Honestly, a pretty good recovery option on Zapdos, and let's see why. So for stats, we want Adamant, so plus attack minus special attack. And for EVs, I have max attack and max speed, and with the remaining in defense. And speed is actually really important here. I know a lot of people usually go max HP for sustainability, but max speed can be really good here because we want to ensure that we're moving first before the Rillaboom. With Rillaboom, we have to be aware that it could have the potential for acrobatics, which would be super effective into Galarian Zapdos and deal big damage. But with Bulk Up, if we're able to move first, we can raise our own defenses to help us live a few acrobatics to set us up for our Shell Bell recovery. Because probably one of the best moves. It almost rivals Acid Spray. Just Acid Spray is just way too good. But Thunderous Kick, its signature move, fighting type, going to be super effective on Rillaboom, going to be the same type attack, stab, and this move guarantees a defensive drop. So much like Acid Spray works through the shield, and Thunderous Kick will also work through the shield. So if you start off a raid with 1, maybe even 2 bulk ups, and then just start spamming Thunderous Kick, it'll let you Tera early before your teammates because you don't have to do as much setup. And every time you attack with the defenses going down, your Thunderous Kicks will be dealing more damage and even giving you even more Shell Bell recovery. So Thunderous Kick, such a strong option here, especially if you notice that you have teammates bringing physical attackers. You definitely want to be, if you have access to it, you want to try to bring Galarian Zapdos. So, you know, Screech is of course good, but the problem with Screech is that Screech can't work through shields, and that's where Thunderous Kick comes in. And I definitely don't want to sleep on its ability, Defiant. Such a good ability for this raid, I'm expecting. If Rillaboom has its signature move Drum Beating as a guaranteed speed drop, which is a free +2 attack for Galarian Zapdos. So we'll be dealing big damage, be lowering the defenses, just such a good debuffer and attacker. Definitely strongly recommend building this mod. And now we're in the top 3 of the list. At number 3, it's gotta be Corviknight. Don't worry, I saw you guys in the comment section recommending Corviknight. I was working on it in the back end, and this is what we're working with here. So specifically, we do want to be fighting Tera type, and spoiler alert, it's going to be much like the Goodra build. We're going to be going off of the body press set, so we want to be fighting type to take advantage of the body press. And Shell Bell is our recovery option because we'll be dealing big damage, so we'll be recovering a lot of HP. For stats, again, we want to be plus defensive nature, and here I have minus special attack because we'll never be using the special attack on Corviknight, and I have max HP and max defense with the rest into speed. For ability, I'm running its hidden ability Mirror Armor, which could be potentially really good here. You know, we are expecting potentially those speed drops from Rillaboom's Drum Beating, so that can actually reverse the speed drop onto Rillaboom itself. Not the most important thing in the world, but kind of a cool tech, kind of cool that we can have that, we have that immunity to stat debuffs. And the reason why Corviknight is such a strong option in this raid is because it can do pretty much everything. So it has access to Screech to debuff Rillaboom's defenses. It has Metal Sound or Fake Tears to lower Rillaboom's special defenses. So depending on who your teammates bring, because you don't know, you don't know what kind of teammates you're gonna get until the raid, until everyone readies up. So it's definitely strong to be able to have Screech and Fake Tears here. I do recommend Fake Tears over Metal Sound because Fake Tears does have a 100% accuracy versus Metal Sound's 85% accuracy. Fake Tears will have to be learned via TM, while Metal Sound is just a native move that Corviknight learns. And then on top of that, it has access to dealing huge damage. So with this massive defense stat, with Iron Defense, boosting our defense by 2 stages every time we use it, we can be using Body Press as our fighting type option, be super effective on the Rillaboom, and Corviknight is just such a strong option because with its native steel and flying type, it resists potentially all the moves that Rillaboom could have against us. So normal type moves, we resist. Grass type moves, we quad resist. Stomping Tantrum, don't even have to worry about it, we're flying type. Acrobatics, we resist that. We resist all of Rillaboom's potential offensive options, so Corviknight definitely deserves to be in the top 3, if not even higher in the list. But these other ones in the top 2, there's a reason why they're there, so let's jump into it. So number 2 on our list, just missing out on the top slot, it's going to be our favorite shield doggo, Zamazenta. Here with Zamazenta, kind of the same deal. We're going to be taking advantage of its defensive stat and body press. Body press just seems so strong into Rillaboom, especially with Rillaboom being a physical attacker and being a normal Tera type. A fighting body press just seems like such a strong option for this raid. For a held item, it's obviously going to be Rusted Shield. Rusted Shield is very important here because you do actually get stat buffs versus your shield form versus your non-shield form. So very important that you run Rusted Shield. You can buy it at Porto Marionata if you don't have access to it right now. And it'll actually give Zamazenta also the steel typing when it's in battle. So I know it says fighting in the top right, but it'll be fighting and steel type, giving us some resistances to Rillaboom's moves. So for stats, I recommend max HP and max defense. So just make sure that you have plus defense nature for this. Dauntless Shield is its only ability. So when you enter the battle for the first time, you'll actually get a free defense boost, which will help us get to our body pressing quicker. Because for moves, we're going to kind of the same sets that we've been talking about. Same thing with Hisui and Goodra, same thing with Corviknight. It's going to be Iron Defense into Body Press. So the reason why Zamazenta is ranked higher than those is because it is fighting type. So it takes advantage of that same type, same Tera attack boost and body press. We don't have to change our Tera type to an off Tera type. We can just use fighting and get the huge damage potential. And Zamazenta has some good supportive options as well. It has access to Reflect, which is a really important move that we can use here to buff our whole team's defenses against Rillaboom's offenses. I don't think it'll be getting much play in this raid, but Howl is potentially a really good move because it raises everyone's attack stat. But your bread and butter here is going to be the Iron Defense into Body Press. Again, just to mention, with a Steel fighting type, we're going to resist Rillaboom's Grass and Normal type moves. We're going to resist, or actually we're going to be neutral to Acrobatics if it has it. We do have to be worried of potentially Stomping Tantrum. These are all the reasons why Zamazenta is ranked number 2 on our list. And to finish us off on this list, at our number 1 slot, the best Pokemon that you can use to farm Rillaboom. Unfortunately, it is a Scarlet exclusive. It's going to be Koraidon. So I'm a Pokemon Violet player, so I don't have access to Koraidon, so I'll preferably be using Zamazenta or Corviknight. But those who have Scarlet, boy, is this a free raid for you guys. So Koraidon, again, fighting Dragon type, that fighting type Tera, so it's going to be getting that huge damage, and it has such great raid options here. Koraidon, just such a strong option, huge stats because it's a legendary, and has the moves, you know, the exact moves that we're looking for in a Mon. So it can have Swords Dance and or Bulk Up to boost its own stats. I preferably would recommend Swords Dance because it's quicker, but Bulk Up you do get the defense boost, so it could be useful. Also has access to Screech, so you can lower Rillaboom's defenses before you attack. And then 2 big fighting type options, Orichalcum Pulse, which deals more super effective damage than a regular fighting type move. So that's going to be a really strong option in this raid and be dealing big damage. And you even have access to Drain Punch, so you can get some health back, some recovery. You can even run a Shell Bell to also further increase your recovery. One thing that you want to watch out for is, again, the Acrobatics from Rillaboom. But Koraidon is just so bulky. Its stats, all of its stats, its base stat total is just so massive that you'll be able to live a few Acrobatics enough to the point where you will be recovering more HP from the Shell Bell and Drain Punch to counteract the flying weakness. For stats, I recommend Adamant Nature with max attack and max HP with 4 EVs in either speed or defense. And with its ability, you will enter the raid with an attack boost. So Koraidon, just such a strong option. If you have Pokemon Scarlet, have fun farming this raid. But for Pokemon Violet players, that just makes this raid more interesting for us because there's different mons that we can bring. I do think the best option that's available to everyone is going to be Corviknight. It's native in Paldea, so there's no need to transfer him from Pokemon Home or buy a different Pokemon game for Corviknight. And then also, it's not a version exclusive, so like Koraidon, you would have to have Pokemon Scarlet. Corviknight's available in both games, so definitely probably the best option for someone out there that only has Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If you have access to Pokemon Home, we have some other really good options here. So like I was saying, like Zamazenta can be really good. Galarian Zapdos also really good. Hisuian Goodra really good. So that is my top 10. Let me know what you guys think about my top 10. Do you guys agree with the rankings? Do you guys agree with how everything is ranked? Let me know in the comments. Honestly, all 10 of these builds can be successful in a Rillaboom raid, but is there any Pokemon that I left out that you were looking forward to? Please let me know in the comments. I look forward to farming the Rillaboom raid next weekend. It's going to be so much fun. So make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss out on future raid guides and builds. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.